Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, we are going to be reviewing Moonlake. I want to see how it does because my first attempt was actually pretty decent. So, I converted over my 3D clicker, work on it because, I don't know, like maybe show some photos so I can so there's another game. I had the text. I had the text. So, like, I want to see. So, the first one was kind of interesting because I tried to make it follow the instructions. So, hold on. We just need to. I actually had the funny thing is I actually had the actual text I wanted. So I need to get it again. So just give us a minute, guys. And we're gonna import it, and then we're gonna see because the first one was just kind of a bunch of text to see how it would do. But now I'm actually kind of curious. Okay, so here is here's a bunch of instructions and how can you follow it. Text right now. It's another game that I wanted to design, but it's kind of like a Dead by Daylight game. I want to see now how it how it I'm just hopping in front of my ex because I was trying to do some stuff. Probably end up needing more credits. I'm gonna probably end up messaging one of the devs there. Well, one of them already follows me, or maybe I also deal with, but like I might just now it has predefined instructions. So like it's the code, but as well these are your predefined instructions. Now we have all the predefined instructions. That was the big issue. I just kind of threw the code in, but now I have the code plus the predefined instructions. How now with the predefined instructions does it because I converted it games. It was just random code, and then I kind of threw it in, but like it wasn't really. Now like here is on instructions. Here is like how do I put it? Like I hate when they put hashtag in that. Like master design document describing an asymmetrical. Yeah. So now it's using the plan mode. So now, like I'm trying to say is like I want so looking like this is good because now by doing this, I'm actually giving it an actual. So I wanted to see. I just want to compare certain things. So I wanted to see. This was like my Nutter re-review. So I was actually originally wanting to do a game from scratch, but like I already had certain things. But like versus okay, so here is the how do I put it? Because here's the code. Go, go, go make it. I had some trouble doing it because there wasn't really any instructions. Just like here's the code, but like what's it really about? It was very like I kind of gave some instructions, but it was very, very vague. But like now with this, as it's all defined, it's okay, this is step one. This is what we're doing. Here's the code, but here's also the text. So this is what we're going to be building. What we're going to be building. Step one. This is step one. Step two. This is step two. Step three. This is step three. Step four. Here's everything defined. Okay, so here's the code, but here's the backstory. This is what it's all about. It's like it's exactly like Dead by Daylight, but something but my own twist on it. So here it is. Okay, so how is it like this? And after, as you can see with the text, now it's breaking it all down. Okay, it's like this because it has asymmetricalism. It has this because it has this. It has this. So now it's starting to understand. So now I wanted to do something like this, or go into something similar. Just like type me a game that's like this, and then but here are the predefined instructions. I want it to be like this, and since now you have these predefined instructions, how would you break it down? So that's what I did. I got exactly that. I got the predefined instructions, and I wrote it all. So now I want to see how this turns out properly because I've given it certain things, and then now I'm gonna say make this thing. There's a couple other things that maybe that I might need to add later on, but like, but for the most part, now I've given it the proper how do I put it? It's kind of like building a house in a good way. Building a house, or making I don't know what would be going on a space mission, like space mission, like going to Mars or something along those lines. Musk goes sends all these rockets to all these planets. Like there's a navigation system, like a GPS. Okay, go. But where do you want me to go? Go somewhere. Okay, but where? Somewhere. Okay, but what's the city? What's the city? What's the state? What's the province? What's the county? Uh I don't know, but go somewhere. So it will make a guess, but no, I don't want to go there. But you said to go somewhere. So I did that and I wanted to see because but now I'm understanding like yes, it's an A this is starting off, but it's not as advanced as other like builders or like other types of things. Yeah, it has good backing, it has a lot of other type of stuff, but like it's not as advanced. It's starting off. Like if you want to compare it to like okay, like I made stuff games with Claude and like I made a couple of pretty decent type of things with it. And it's not Opus 4.6. It's definitely not GenSpark. It's not other type of yeah. The GenSpark to a certain degree has its own architecture. It's like modified Claude code, but like aside from that, but like this is and then comparing it to like the two other game makers, they're not too bad, but like it could be a little bit better. This is a little bit more of an upgrade, but still, it doesn't like if you really want to compare it to something like in the sense of Claude, in the sense of like Rock or something like a Super Rock or something I've used Super Grok. I made some. I tried making a game. It wasn't too bad, but like some people are making games. Like there's Rock Heavy, there's Super. If you want to compare it to Grok, or if you want to compare it to like all that type of stuff, like it does a good job, but in the sense of like again, this isn't Claude. Claude is insane. Opus 4.6 is really good. Even the Sonnet is actually very good as well. This isn't Grok. This isn't Super Grok. This isn't this. Like it's good. It has a good handle on certain things, but like, and it has yes, it does have a good type of thing. But like, if I'm like, I can ask certain things to make it in a certain way, but the difference is that Grok has a way higher token count and a way higher understanding of things because it because the way that it is built and the architecture of it, it's like okay, so like yeah, they got their backing, they got their seeding round, so but like Anthropic is also backed by other types of people and a lot of big major players as well. Like they are backing it. Like it's not just like yeah, it's backed by like this is actually backed by Nvidia, yes, but Anthropic is backed by not just one company. It's backed by like other types of things. Like and Grok is basically Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. Like and then but you're kind of saying okay, but you've tested out other type of stuff like other somewhat game makers that were actually pretty good. How do they do it? To be honest, I can't like I don't really know how their architecture is, but it has like it seems like it has a better understanding. Like, and yeah, there's some no-based workflow to a certain degree. How they run their code and how they do it, like to be honest, I don't really know because like I tested it out. I tried reaching out to other, but this looks like how it looks like how it is from my perspective and how it's building certain things. It has a similar design to the Unreal Engine, and it builds out certain things and so with Unreal Engine and all that type of stuff, it builds out the game. It has a similar architecture to that. So like with Unreal Engine, it needs a step by step. You can do certain other things, or you can import certain things. But like it's an Unreal Engine starting off. So this is like a Unreal Engine starting off, or like a so more pretext if you really want to go into it. This is basically Quake. This is basically a Quake engine. So before Unreal Engine came along, Quake, yes, Unreal, obviously the Epic Games made Unreal, but like one of their first engines was Quake, the Quaker engine, which is based off of one of their original games, which is originally called Quake, and then they made Unreal Tournament, and then they made all the long history. But before it was kind of like this, like okay, you have to give it more of an outline, you got to do all this type of stuff. But now Unreal Engine is a lot different. So basically, you can throw in a file, you can throw in a context, and it can understand it because obviously the context window and obviously the world building and the AI now is at a lot higher rate. And then mind you, Epic Games is one of I don't know just due to the fact that they have trillions of dollars, and obviously this is that's a certain degree, but as well, their game engine, they've been doing this since like the early 80s slash 90s, like when all this type of stuff was just like a concept. Like this is I'm doing this in mom's basement. I'm doing this just, oh, this guy's a gamer, this guy's a loser type of concept. And now compared to that, like yeah, now there's AI, and yes, I it's fantastic. You can speed up a lot of the process to a certain degree with this, but there's still a lot of other factors. Now there's graphics cards. Now there's all this type of stuff. This was just before when people were just kind of like blocks or stick figures. But this is an early good take on this on Quake and looking like how it is. But like my next phase, I would have to say, in how it's building it. It's building it very good. But my next phase would be now working on there's certain files, there's certain other type of stuff. But Now the next phase I would have to say is, since this is somewhat of a game engine built on AI architecture, so there's like a boilerplate. So basically, it's like a house. You have the foundation and you have all this, but like without the foundation, without that type of like stable type of thing, it'll fall apart. Versus like something like Opus, where it's kind of like you have that foundation, but basically the AI is basically the foundation. Basically, it's like you snap your fingers, and then all of a sudden I want to picture, I don't know, this amazing idea, and it just comes out. Basically, the architecture of Opus is kind of like a genie. What do you want? I want this. Boom. What do you want? I want this. Boom. What do you want? I want. So this is more based off of like their sticks and everything, and but I think the next type of step would be going into that, because it has a good pre definition of certain, but now to take that next step is like, how would you then train it on all these other types of games? Like, how would you train? I want something like Dead by Daylight. I want something like Call of Duty. I want something like Battlefield. I want something. You get the idea. So, what would the next step be in training it in that type of perspective? So then it can have that genie like type of perspective of like, I want something like Call of Duty, and then it understands it. Like, I know there's different types of. I know adventure, there's this, there's that, but what type of adventure do you want? And not every adventure game's the same. There's Prince of Persia adventure, and then there's Assassin's Creed adventure, and then there's like an open world adventure like Skyrim. So what subcategories are you doing? So like that would be, I think, the next step. And by doing this is actually pretty good. So it has a pretty decent understanding of all this type of stuff, but it needs to have a context versus just like it needs to have something predefined versus obviously in the more advanced type of stuff, here's the code, and then obviously something like Opus or Sonnet or whatever would read it and then say, oh, I understand this code. Oh, I see that you're building something like that by daylight. I see you're building something like whatever it could be, Unreal Engine or like whatever it could be. um, that would be the next step, and getting that type of AI, like the AI system, to then now understand that pre-context, and just by reading the files, just by reading the code, like, I understand you want to build something like this. Are you? Yes. And like these are all the types of information. Like these are all the characters. Is it's something like this? So that would be the next step. Yes, it is always good to give you a defined version. But the next step, in my opinion, is you already have the code. You already have the indexed HTML. With the code, you can do whatever you want. So by throwing in the code or throwing in those files of the code, then it can understand based on these files you want to build this, correct? Because like that's basically how it was built. That's the code. So by understanding the code, then then it can understand like, okay, this is an open world game. This is an adventure game. This is an open world adventure game. This is a horror game. This is so that would be the next step. So I want to see how it does something like this. But going off of like this and then something to that, and then actually having a good conversion system. So like it took me a while to do pull into like a 3D open world. So like I think like another idea would be like if you have a game and then you can have like within the code, then it can give you certain options. Um, how do you want to build it? Do you want open? What do you want this? And what type of style do you want it? And I think that would be the next step. Or you can just like within the code, then underneath the code, under with your prompt, can you convert this into a 3D type of world? And then it'll give you options based off of what world you want. Like, do you want like this? You want like this? And then I want this, and then it will convert it. But then by training it off of like saying something like Call of Duty, something like Skyrim, something like this, by getting that type of data and getting certain things, then I truly think in that type of perspective, then it can be trained properly because like they're popular genres, but people want to make something like that. Or let's say there's certain things in pop culture that people like, pop culture type of stuff, like a Terminator game, or something like Alien versus Predator, or something like that. Then you can like train it off of, because there actually are certain games that were made off of movies and a lot of pop culture type of stuff, and that would be like another good scenario, because back to like I made a previous similar games with all that type of stuff, but like it understands the pop culture because it's trained off of it properly. And I think with that proper training and that proper type of implementation, I think that would be actually really good as well. So like these are like just all like certain like ideas and tips like I'm giving them. It has potential, but like I think like the next type of step would be that exactly because now you're understanding the type of perspective, and then by understanding that type of perspective, now you're getting okay. So what else do we want? Like what other popular things can we do with this? And by doing that, then I think you can actually get somewhere. Actually get somewhere, and then by actually doing that, then you actually have a better implementation. Now, based on the code and based off somewhat prompting, but more based off the code now, since it understands the code, now it has a better understanding of where you want to take it and where you want to take the direction. Because obviously, the entire code, the entire file, is basically the entire structure of your project. That would be another good idea. But like so far, I would have to say, so far, this is actually one of the better ones. Like it has a good understanding, but I think it just needs to have a little bit more work. That's why I wanted to do another re-review. I wanted to see like based off certain instructions, like how would it do instead of just dumping the code. I would just mostly do, and it would just say go, 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 and then it just does it. Obviously, Kimmy, all this type of stuff. It just goes. I think that would be like the next step here, just games. I think that is also very important from that type of perspective. Putting a game, obviously, you want to have that. I think that would be the I think that's also very important from that type of perspective, due to the fact that you can do that. And I think now with AI, this has like, in just my opinion, like just as a person to obviously, I yes, I wanted to do game design before I one of my options, but I don't. Maybe not, but like I don't know. Like I did some a couple of other things, but like I could have done game design, but I almost actually did it actually too, but I wasn't too sure. But now I think just more with the AI, uh, it's giving lots more people lots of options. Like I've already mentioned a couple of other higher end AIs, but like just the way to just like transition into that. And I just now like before it would take something like people would have to use Blender, people would have to use like UE, people would have to use all these tools, and with just something just with Moonlake itself, um, by taking a lot of things, by converting, by this, by that, by making certain things, I think just from that type of perspective, like something that would take a long, long time, takes a couple of hours or a couple of days. Because obviously, like sometimes you get that really good one shot, but a lot of the times, um, with something like again starting off, you're gonna have to refine it, and then after by giving like certain like suggestions and obviously all this type of stuff. Um, and yeah, obviously like other companies are a lot bigger. Obviously, like as I said, like Opus and all that, and Google and everything. Like obviously they have the capability because they're Anthropic is backed by Google, but obviously Google and like obviously XAI and Musk, like obviously they have pretty much all the money in the world, and they just have unlimited cash to do whatever they want. Like so, by having that type of guess resources, like it's a lot easier. But like they're starting off, and just by starting off, like I do like it. But these are just kind of I'm not really I'm kind of giving like my thoughts on like this is how XAI does it. This is how Gemini would do it, and it would be kind of good if you steps because like I said before, going back to the perspective of just throwing in the index HTML in the entire code, that is basically your entire file. It is 100% code. You would to throw that code in, and then it should be able to read it. Like I've thrown in stuff from Grok into Claude, Claude into Gemini, and vice versa, and all these other types of other ones like DeepSeek and everything. And it really had no under. It didn't really have any trouble understanding the code. It rebuilt it, and obviously there are certain changes depending on the model, and depending on a lot of other aspects. But to be honest, like there wasn't really because like each one understands it a little bit different. But for the most part, a lot of the base foundation was the same, and it actually did do a good job. So like that's what I'm saying. Like you throw in the code and it should be able to read it. Like it shouldn't be like and I should be able to just construct it. And it didn't really have that many problem issues in doing that either. Um, so just from that type of go to and just from that type of understanding and just like how like using AI a lot, like again I do reviews, I do this, obviously like there's certain are obviously a little bit more different obviously because obviously I'm obviously as I said like I have a group of people who I work with myself and obviously certain programs and all that type of stuff. But like, aside from all that type of stuff, that aside, it's just more in a sense of like I'm looking more at the core structure of it and as saying back into that type of perspective. I don't think I think they should be working more on that type of perspective because code is code is code. So I throw it into DeepSeek, it should have no problem reading it and building it. I throw it into Claude, it should have no problem reading it. I throw it into Kimi or whatever, ChatGPT, you get the idea. Um, it shouldn't really have an issue reading that due to the fact of the structure and as I say, code is code is code. They all do HTML. They all do Rust. They all do Java. They all do whatever it could be. Should be able to understand it and and be able to properly throw it in and have no issue and just building. Okay, I understand you're making this. Let me try to redo it. Unless I specify remake it from the ground up, then it should be able just to understand the code and make it just the way it is. I think uh, that is that is what should be implemented. Yes, having certain guidelines and certain procedures are pretty good because that gives you a better understanding of what you're making. But the code shouldn't really be able to build it, no problem, because that is pretty much your file, your index, and it should be able to build that index, no problem. May it be a game, may it be an application, doesn't really matter what it is. Um, if you have that foundation, if you have that index file, it should be able to easily build a problem. That is basically your that's an index. What's in it's a library. It's basically all your information stored in one file. It's like, hey, build this. But starting off, it is very, very good. I think as well, another good idea would be as well with the character models. Like they're still not too bad. It still feels a little bit blocky to a certain degree. Understanding good character models and understanding how rendering works, like with the Unreal Engine or a couple of other engines, or you can go maybe open source. There's a couple of open source type of things as well that isn't too bad. And then by doing that, um, then I think it can get like a better perspective, like how does a human look, how does this look, and then getting that more into that realism, and then so bit by bit by bit, then you can make an entire AAA game a lot more real, a lot less blocky, and it can look like something like I don't know Silent Hill or like whatever that type of level. Rock, I've seen some stuff with Rock Imagine, like with the engine, basic type of things. Like, but just by taking it to the next level and taking that realism, and I really think that it well. So, but having those instructions does help. But like making it more marketable, and I think from that type of perspective, like the technology that we have, I think it is very, very possible now with AI. So yeah, a lot of this type of stuff does look like a very like early mid 90s slash to mid 2000s type games. But like I think now with certain things like with the ray tracing and the AI and like a lot of other type of perspectives, well, it could easily properly. Just like just understanding that type of perspective, understanding like what makes it like why make 3D characters, why make this, why get more realistic in that type of perspective. I think that would be the next type of perspective, and then just doing that is just like understanding realism now, like and like showing the character and all that type of stuff. But for the most part, like it is very very good. But like these are like what would be the next steps? But you can tell that this is very L4 slash L4 plus. It does have somewhat of a semi autonomous understanding of what's actually going on. Like it's kind of working with you in a certain way. Very, very interesting because obviously, like now with like a lot of perspective, and like now people are saying Grok is going to be likely AGI or close to it, then human level thinking. Again, it's not again. Certain humans don't really use a big percentage of their brains. How good will it be? Probably average. Another good way, I think, on like another good implementation, I think would be like another idea is let's say there's certain things that are missing about survivors or this thing that there are a couple like people survivors and everything that are missing. Like a way to now like pull up like a menu and say here are all the things that are missing. Do you want to add this? And after you click yes. So that would be like another type of thing because AI should be able to pick up and detect certain things from that type of perspective. That's how I'm looking at it because that's what it should be able to do. Like this, here are the people. Here's all this. I think like that would be like the next type of thing. I just want to see how the assets did load up. Failed, but it worked. I'm not gonna try to figure out. It can make sense. It failed, but then it worked. Pass. Kind of curious. Okay, so now it's actually trying to make the actual world. I also want to do because I've actually made another game on something else. How now how it compares. 'Cause I always want to stack up certain things because, like, okay, so this is actually very interesting. But like, next type of step now, like, so like, how would it compare to something else? And like, what does that have that could be useful, or what they? I'm always into that type of perspective of like, let's compare and then like let's see because like everyone now is trying to get into it because now game design is now a form of entertainment. It's getting popular. So now, obviously, what would be a good way to use AI with entertainment? So now it's in the movies, now it's in games, now it's in all this type of stuff. So, like, why not? So, how would one understand, and how does that run it compared to something like that? Like, because what I'm looking at is how exactly and how exactly what exactly like how does it break down the information? How does it stack up against something else? Like, now, like my big thing is like rendering, but now more especially with the AI, how can it understand, or like how can it like build something like based on this information you're giving it? I want you to make this. I want you to do this. So my so the next question um is the AI can do all this. Now, what exactly okay, so it can do all this, it can make the game, it can do this. So but how can it improve? How can it make stuff more real? How can you do this? How can you train it better so you can get better results? How can it be how can it be a lot smoother now? How can it run a lot with a lot less that type of stuff? Like what would be how would how would it understand? So like now see like this is now I need something to go back to the controls with the dental game and do the same type of thing. Like so now I'm comparing, okay, I converted this game and now I made something else. How does that stack up to such and such? Like, I want to so like as this is obviously advancing, how would it stack up? Like how can it understand? Okay, I'm gonna probably how can it understand? Oh, we can okay, so now you can add like capitals with character models. Let's look how this turns out. I actually have a thing where I don't like shift. I don't like. I always use my little mouse button to have the game. Ah, 11 errors detected. Okay, so we're gonna probably have to get a little bit more credits on this one, but this actually isn't too bad. It actually has a pretty good understanding, and this is how exactly how I wanted to do originally the other game, but it's getting there. But this is more with the predefined plan. So, but as I say, going back to what I was saying before, it shouldn't really matter. But I would have to say this is a major upgrade, and it's an interesting take on two different type of perspectives. But the AI should be smart enough just to understand the index, as I said. But this to me now I'm starting to see, okay, what should I do? What shouldn't I do? What other type of feedback can I give? And how would it compare to all this type of stuff? Like and how does it compare to something else? Like how would something else do it type of way? I have done a couple of other type of things before, but this to me looks like a little bit more cleaner, a lot less blocky, but it does need to have a little bit more realism, that type of perspective. And I think that. But thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. As